Located at the back of the head, the cerebellum is in charge of maintaining balance and posture. Located towards the base of the center of the cortex, the temporal lobe is responsible for processing emotions, language, and memory. Located at the most anterior part of the brain, the frontal lobe is responsible for voluntary movements. Located behind the frontal lobe and above the occipital and temporal lobe, the parietal lobe is responsible for processing somatosensory. Located under the parietal lobe and above the temporal lobe, the occipital lobe is responsible for visual mapping and perception. The longitudinal fissure is the deep groove that separates the two cerebral hemispheres of the brain. The optic nerves transmit electrical impulses from your eye to the brain. The olfactory bulb is located on the bottom side of the brain and is in charge of receiving information about smells. The optic tract is a bundle of nerve fibers that carries visual information from the optic chiasma to the left and right lateral bodies. The optic chiasma is an egg-shaped space which is in charge of transmitting visual information to the occipital lobes. In front of the central sulcus, the precentral gyrus is in charge of voluntary motor movement. Located behind the central sulcus, the postcentral gyrus is in charge of conscious sensory information. The central sulcus runs down the middle of the lateral side of the brain and is in charge of separating the frontal lobe from the parietal lobes. This sulcus right here divides the internal occipital lobe from the parietal lobes and the temporal lobes. The pons is located in the brainstem and is in charge of relaying messages from the forebrain to the cerebellum. The medulla is located in the brainstem and transmits signals from the spinal cord to the rest of the brain. The infundibulum connects the hypothalamus to the pituitary and sends hormones from the hypothalamus to the pituitary. The pineal gland is located in the middle of the brain and is the source of melatonin in the body. The thalamus is located above the brainstem in the middle of the brain and is the relay station of the brain. Located below the thalamus and above the pituitary gland, the hypothalamus is in charge of maintaining your body's homeostasis. The amygdala is located in the medial temporal lobe in front of the hippocampus and helps regulate emotions. The corpus callosum is located in the white matter of the brain and helps the two sides of the brain communicate.